Siddur Snippet series is generously sponsored by the Saka family, by Elad of Foreman, for Refuah Shlema, for Hadassah Rocha Bas Chana Golda. Our final snippet on the bracha, Baruch Ata Hashem HaMachazir Shechinaso L'Tzion. We ask Hashem to return His Shechina to Tzion. We mentioned last night it's in the present tense, not in the future tense, because Geula is not binary, it's not Galus or Geula, it's a process. It happens in increments, and we're moving towards it, and therefore there is a constant journey, a constant process towards Geula. It's in the present tense. It's interesting. Some want to suggest that this bracha was not established by Anshe Knesset Gadola because they lived during the time of Bayesheni. So when Beis Hamikdash was still standing, Bayesheni. So how could you ask Hamachazir Shechinaso L'Tzion, ask Hashem to return His Shechina to Tzion, when the Beis Hamikdash was still standing? Was this said during the time of the second Beis Hamikdash? Was this bracha itself composed by Anshe Knesset Gadola? So the Sefer Taliora suggests it's possible, yes, they even composed it, and maybe it was even said during the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. The Gemara Yuma Daf Chaf Aleph tells us that the second Beis Hamikdash didn't have Hashras HaShechina. Rashi writes, Ruach HaKodesh L'Haisa B'Neviim. There was no divine intense presence. Neviim didn't have divine inspiration. We know the Aron was nignaz. The Aron was buried in the Harabayas during the second Beis Hamikdash. Those who saw and lived for the first saw the second, and it was a terrible disappointment in contrast or comparison, as much as we would love and long for it right now. So to a degree, as much as the second Beis Hamikdash was beautiful and magnificent, and karbanos were offered, but the Aron with the luchos was nignaz. It was buried in the Harabayas, and therefore it was in some ways diminished, and therefore it's possible to still pray and ask Hamachazir Shechinaso L'Tzion, that the full Shechina should be returned even during the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. Pasuk in Eicha, in the first parak of Eicha, writes, Vayetze min bas Tzion kol hadara, all the beauty of Tzion left her. Rav Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal explains that this pasuk is the reason that we are davka invoking Tzion here. We're appealing to Hashem that Tzion's beauty should return. How does Tzion's beauty return? So think about today in our time. Yerushalayim is expanding in every direction. It doesn't have to be years between your visits to Israel. It could be months or weeks, and you'll see Yerushalayim is radically changed with each visit. Skyscrapers are going up, magnificent buildings are being built, beautiful bridges, communities are being expanded. It's extraordinary what's going on. And yet, with all of its architecture and all of its building and all of its beauty, it's missing its splendor. Because what's the splendor of Yerushalayim? The Beis Hamikdash and the Shechina. When there are negotiations and deals and the release of terror, I'm not weighing in, but when this still has to even be considered or evaluated, we're missing the Shechina, the intense presence of Hashem, of the Almighty. So what's Churban? Pasuk in Eicha is telling us that what happened, Vayetze min bas Tzion kol hadara, all of its beauty went missing. That's Churban, that's destruction. And what's building, what's beauty? The return of the Shechina. That's what we long for. Hamachazir Hashem, don't just give us sovereignty, which is a miracle, and it's already partial geula. Don't just give us control in our own government. Don't just give us our own ability to defend ourselves. All what we longed for, or wished for, and davened for 2,000 years, but it's absent the main thing. What we want is the Shechina. We don't just want to live in our house again. We want you to come live there with us. And being able to return there, having its protection and shelter, is a wonderful gift we don't take for granted. If a person were expelled from their home, if a person were able to return in LA to their home, if it withstands and survives these fights, you're grateful to go home. But if you're not with your spouse, with your family, it's still missing the most important thing. We're home in Yerushalayim. It's expanding in every direction, but it's missing the most important thing. And what's the most important thing? The Shechina. So that's what we daven along for. The Hadara, its beauty and splendor is Tzion. Hamachazir Shechinaso, Hashem, bring your Tzion, bring your Shechina back. Rav Schwab Zatzal writes in his beautiful Sefer on Siddur, this bracha is said in the present tense, although it has not happened yet, because we have such a emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will return His presence to Tzion, we can visual it before our eyes as if it has already taken place. It's not something beyond our imagination. It's not beyond our vision or the pale of what we can consider. It's so real. We hope, we long, we can already see it. We can already picture it. We see it. We literally see it beginning to unfold before our eyes, and we see it because it's right there within our grasp. eineinu. Our eyes can see it. It's not just in the third eye, the imagination. Our eyes can already sense, our eyes can already see, we're already longing. What's the difference between Tzion and Yerushalayim? Schwab writes, usually the word Tzion refers to Beis HaMikdash, Tzion Mishkan Kvodecha. Yerushalayim means the city, Yerushalayim Ircha. Tzion conveys the idea of the outstanding aspect of the Jewish nation. It describes the Beis HaMikdash with its focal point being Kodesh HaKadoshim, contains evidence, Torah Shebechsav and Bapeh. It radiates the truth to the world, the truth of Torah to the world through the Sanhedrin that sits within its portals. Ki mitzion teitzei Sora. We could say that Tzion, the Beis HaMikdash, represents the neshama of the Jewish people. Yerushalayim is the guf of the Jewish people, the embodiment of Torah. Mitzion is the physical life of Am Yisrael. So this is our longing. Why is it the third section of the Amida? It's not Shevach praise, it's not Bakasha. It sounds an awful lot like Bakasha. We want you to bring your Shekhinah back, but really it's Hoda'ah. That's how we began this section. We'll pick up next time. I'm really excited. I'm not supposed to have favorite brachos, but I'm excited to dive into Modim. We'll see how many snippets it takes because there's a lot to say. Modim and Modim Derabanan, the only bracha that we have two versions of, Sim Shalom and Shalom Rav, but Modim that we have a responsive version of. I'm looking forward to starting that next time.